of our organization. What is our most strategic objective that we are trying to achieve? And then brainstorm different goals that is the best way to actually support getting to that strategic objective. Once we have laid out that, and as you can see, this is also in all secret leading into the engagement value. So we begin to place the card and we can actually use that to also build the engagement value from. Once we have that in place, then we can start talking about what are the quick win tactics, where should we apply personalization, what is the potential business case, etc. So a good way to take that conversation also with your peers at home. It's also something that we know works. So for instance, it's something that we have also been engaged with for different clients. This is an example of Auckland Airport in New Zealand. They did some personalization focusing on the quick wins. So in this case, finding a segment where they want to give a better experience to see what is the outcome they could achieve. In their case, because security is very effective, then it means that passengers are less time in the airport. So it has actually gone down for 2 hours to 1 hour and 30 minutes, meaning that the retails in the airport don't get that many visits. So what they're trying to do was take visitors that they know will come to the airport and give them a good opportunity to come to the most relevant retail store. And by doing that and using personalization, they were actually able to get an 84% increase in redeemed coupons at retail because they were personalized, and also getting more revenue in the retails. Scanlines, that's the biggest ferry organization in Scandinavia. They did this as well, choosing a segment. In this case, people who go for a specific travel with the ferry. So Danes going to Germany because of amusement parks. I know it sounds silly, I'm from Denmark myself, but we actually do that. We go from Denmark, we take the ferry, and we go all the way to Germany, drive 3 hours to go to an amusement park, and then we drive back home. So I guess there's a good opportunity to have good amusement parks all over Denmark as well. But they found that this segment was pretty big, and they were going to this park in Germany, and if they showed sign of going to this park, they would personalize it, and they would personalize the content so it's more relevant for them, and then increase bookings. And by doing so, they actually achieve a return on investment in less than 2 weeks. So this has great impact, just focusing on key segment, starting doing personalization, and begin to show the wins. The last question we typically get is who should support this, and what are the involvement of different capabilities. So that we have the capabilities and the role side of the maturity model. So this will help you map to the different stages. What are the capabilities? How do they evolve? So for instance, we go from web analytics to experience analytics to predictive analytics. How do we use social? And what are the typical roles we see should be used to get most value out of these different capabilities? Because as you evolve up here, then your team that will be using all these different capabilities will also evolve. So go from more generalist in the beginning to more specialist on board to really get full value out of this. So some thoughts around data, experience marketing, and how to use it, but also how to get started. I think when you're back home tomorrow and you turn on your laptop, what you could do to consider how to get started is really take a journey in the shoes of your customers. So start with a specific task in mind. I'm a customer, I want to buy this, or I want to research this, I want to find this information. Start from a search engine, come into your website, do the behavior like they will typically do, and see if you create a disconnected experience or you actually create a relevant experience. Because that's a key way to find where your opportunities are. Focus on how you can get started with the quick wins. Start using that to reframe your organization's strategic approach for doing this by showing the effect on actually doing so, and there will be an effect. and then understand that it's not marketing versus IT, but it's really working together here as best friends forever, because we need both parts in this for the customer experience and to create the most relevant experiences. And remember, we need to get started now, because this is really just the beginning. And I know you're probably hearing it all over, and you have many tasks on your table each day. But we need to get started now, because this is going so fast, so fast. These are my two kids. They are very savvy with the tablets, and in fact here they're actually pulling a little bit of water over the tablet themselves. But they will be very savvy in a couple of years, and others like them growing up with this will be what they are used to. Many of us also what we are used to. And the pace of where technology is going is super fast. Means that very soon we will all be wearing wearable devices where we can actually see when somebody comes into a specific location, communicate, but we know they are also there. There are also ways to put in, so for instance, Hawkins have done this in Brazil. They have created the tweet peak. So this will send a tweet to the parents when it's time for diaper change. It sounds crazy now, but it could be the new norm of tomorrow, and then not applying this means that we could lose market shares. There's also Google Glasses. Google Glasses has been so much discussion. You can go here if you have Google Glasses, but in the future it's not Google Glasses, it will be lenses, and you can really see if you are all wearing lenses, and you can see small bubbles on top of my head with all the information, with the reviews and everything. Going into a shop will be very different 10 years from now, because you can see exactly in the shop who you should go to for a specific advice. But you could also see ratings. Don't talk to this guy, he's a bad guy, talk to this one instead. And that will change the way we actually interfere with brands. And just adding augmented reality in the lenses, we might not even have to leave our house, because we can get it all in the living room. But technology is the enabler, and the best experiences is really when technology is hit. But it's going so fast that if we don't get started now, then the gap to really come up to where the peers are and the leaders are will be so big. So that's why we need to get started on the customer experience here. It's also something that we have been very put a lot of efforts into from Sitecore, because this is doing this correctly with the right process is what makes you most successful in using the Sitecore experience platform. So we have just published a book, Connect, which dives into the maturity model and essentially go through stage by stage what you need to do from a process, from a resource, from a technology, but also from overcoming barriers in that stage. It has some good examples of different organizations at the different levels that could inspire you. If you go into connecttheexperience.com, you can take the maturity assessment. You can get a couple of chapters as well, and feel free to send me an email if you have any questions at all for this. So I think that's time, but hopefully you have some questions here as well. So let me just go around. Yeah.
Keep going. So I think we definitely have a lot of clients that are interested in moving forward with this. One of our biggest challenges has been how to scale this model of personalization. So I think generally when we're dealing with a lot of our client sites, we don't have very many clients who have smaller websites. We're dealing with 50, 60, 90,000 page websites. They want to apply these simple rules, but they don't have the manpower to go through 90,000 pages. So is this something that in the process of making technical upgrades to the system is being thought about, eventually addressed?
Yeah, so personalization is many things. So when we usually talk about personalization, we classify it as being 4 different parts. First, it's the rule-based personalization. And rule-based personalization is very simple. If you match this, show this content. Very easy to set up, very easy to get started with. But of course, as you progress, then you can easily get into scenarios where you will have to build a lot of rules, and that's really not that good. Second is more based on profiles and based on algorithms. So that's the profiling and personalization that we already have in the product. You can do some more semi-automated there. So for instance, profile content, profile different content spots, and then based on match. So if you look like this, automatically you show this content. That will definitely be the next evolution coming from rule-based.
And you don't have to tag every piece of content. You can tag profile whole folders.
Yeah.
So it's not like you have to go to each one of 100,000 items and say this and that.
You can do a search based on tags, etc., and then profile the content based on that. Third is connected personalization. That is where we typically use the experience automation. So you can set up actually your different segments there. So now your task is mapping the customers into the different segments, and then your personalization will be more based on the segment they match and other data as well, which is also more semi-automated. The last one is the true predictive personalization, where we harvest the machine learning. So here we connect to different machine learning algorithms, and then send in the data we have to give you the most relevant experience, and that will basically calculate what is the most relevant content to be served, and then do that in real time. That's pretty sophisticated, but that will be the way you go. We'll start with the rule-based, and then we will evolve the way. No. Thoughts?
Well, I actually think my question is probably simpler than that even, which is just like, we want a basic rule that says if the person came from Twitter, show them this. If they came from Facebook, show them this. But we want that rule on 90,000 pages.
Ah, okay.
So I think like we're on board with starting simple, and I think even most of our clients are on board with the whole idea of starting simple. But it's just it's a manpower question. So they're looking to say, I have 5 rules that I want to try.
Yeah, and then apply
the same
across
footer on every
yeah,
page,
exactly.
or the same header on every page, and I want to try it there. So how do I do it once? And
Are you an implementer or a client?
implementer.
You're an implementer.
Yeah.
Okay. 5 minutes in Sitecore rocks. I can do 90,000 pages, no problem.
Sure. I just if I'm a client, I don't know that I love that answer.
Yeah. So from the user interface where we normally set up personalization, we don't have that capabilities.
Okay.
It could be extended with some customization in the solution, but then the implementer, in your case you, need to set that up so it's available for the client.
Sure.
But moving forward, it's also something that we will bring more enhancement to.
Okay.
I was going to ask, is there any plan for that? To try and help clients with personalization, maybe run into this problem that he's describing. If we have this component that sits on 90,000 pages, but the client doesn't get that they have to do personalization every single page.
Yeah.
Something that's on the roadmap.
Yeah, it's something that's in the roadmap. Most likely it will be in the next version after 8. So it's not going to be shipped with the 8, but most likely the next version afterwards. But it's actually something that could be customized. That doesn't take that much effort, so you actually have those capabilities. Definitely something to look into. Any other questions? Yeah.
So you're part of the SBOSS.
Yeah.
How does SBOSS interact with implementation partners? Like, how do we call you guys in? What's the relationship like? How do we take advantage of you to help get our customers?
Yeah. So we basically produce different sets of materials, process, methodology, and that is available for all our partners and customers. We also have specific workshops that we do with partners, and we have consultants that can be used with the partners as well. If you have a specific case you're working on and want to really dive into the experience marketing and data capabilities, we are there to support you. I should also say we are a fairly small team, and there's also a lot of demand. But for instance, Elan, who's here tonight, is also a part of SPOS and is doing a lot of engagement, both helping partners as well. So it's definitely something we can look into. Yeah.
The profile review is based off of individuals, but is there a way to get aggregated data? As an example, the customers who are trying to target specific organizations, they will see the actions and goals of the organizations within that same kind of space.
Yeah, not with the
Could you repeat that question
releases.
first?
What?
Could you repeat that question?
Yeah, so the question was, we have the experience profile, if there's any ways to see aggregated, so based on specific organizations, what they have done. So essentially, instead of looking at all, what have this specific sub-segment done. Not default out of the version 8, but it's something that has been looking into after the next couple of releases. I know they're working on how you can do that more sophisticated. And also get more data that will be more automated.
Question, you had a slide that had the age of customer and had some examples underneath of Macy's and Amazon. Were there any that weren't based on purchase history that you could learn more to and how they are considered as age of customer?
Yes, and each of the customer is really Forrester's model, but I think USAA is a good one because they have really good loyalty among their members, and their members are of course being military, ex-military. Yeah. So not like a retail or purchase in that regard, but they have really strong loyalty because they have one, relevant experiences for them, but also relevant products and at a really fair price as well. But most of them is actually more retail or focus on product purchase.
I guess what I'm saying is if they're not collecting the data from purchase history, they're collecting it just based on how they navigate through the site.
Yeah, it's take for instance someone like them, then it will be collected on the interactions, but also what kind of insurances do you have with them. And then the content you will see when you call them, then it will be relevant. When you get the email, it will be relevant. It's when I call my, I have had many different insurance companies also moving here from Denmark. But when I call the one I have now, they map my cell phone number with all my different insurances, and we actually have a relevant conversation there. I don't need to repeat all my data, and they will look it up in the system, and that's just a really good experience. I had an experience with renting a car where I had to, I feel I was being cheated because I rented the car, I prepaid, and ended going away by paying $857. So I was feeling a little bit cheated. Because they insisted I needed to have insurance, I called them. Immediately they know who I am, and I asked him, do I need to have this insurance in Florida? He says yes, but I thought I bought it all. No, you don't need that. And even better, they also could help me and actually talk to the rental car company. That's what makes loyalty. I will never shift away from them again.
By the way, just USAA, they collect household information. So when one of the children turns 16, they send emails encouraging them to take driver's ed and all this other stuff that goes on with getting to a point where the kid get their own insurance. So they babysit all the family members as they go through the life cycle.
And of course, basic here is really putting yourself in the customer's shoes. Understand what are their intent, what are their different journeys, what content are they looking for, and then map that to how you can actually identify you are now in this segment with this behavior, with this intent, and this is the most relevant experience we can give. That's what builds up loyalty, because you feel a closer connection to the brand, because they are not just serving you static content and show that they don't know you, they're actually showing you relevant content across different channels. Any other questions? What are your thoughts around experience marketing and all these capabilities? And is it something you are considering currently? What are your plans to do it? What are the main barriers here? Yeah.
I think one of the biggest barriers is just educating clients about the process. And like you said, those 5 barriers, and I think that's really the first step to moving things forward. Because as implementers, I think we're all on board, and everyone has played around with and knows how to execute some of the basic tasks, but it's an education problem for clients.
Can I just jump up for that?
Yeah.
So, we know each other. But I just want everybody to know, if you don't know me, I'm customer engagement manager for the Northeast, and I manage just the existing accounts within the Northeast. The Northeast is New England, New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. There's 7 of us now, and we're here to help you with that. So come in, kind of help just re-educate them about the platform, be able to answer any of their questions, and also hopefully drive business back to you. In customer service is my main focus, and adoption of our platform is the focus of our group. So I'm here to help any of you on any customer, and hopefully some of you have seen some benefits if I've talked to any customers and stuff like that. So
how does engagement value fit into the quick wins model? Because it seems like engagement value involves such a kind of coming together, determining what is valuable on the website, what is there for, how do you relate all these different things you can do on it, and giving it a kind of single, kind of truthful evaluation. That seems like such a big lift that it sort of really works against, oh, well, let's just get started with this or get started with that.
Yeah, and here we focus on the most important digital goals, and then set a fixed value on them. So most likely, and for most quick wins, it has been identified the most important goal, set a value on that, and then we get started. And then as we begin to get the results in, then we also get more commitment to build it out and do it properly. But for the quick wins, most often it's just the most important goals, or the 2 most important goals, and set a value there.
Yeah, but you can measure it on conversions too. You don't have to just do engagement value.
Yeah.
What is Sitecore AIDA? AIDA? I've seen it on the Sitecore site. It has an acronym that spells out different parts of the marketing platform. And I've seen it on some agency blogs where they claim this is, AIDA, formerly known as Sitecore DMS.
Yeah, so AIDA, we all know that's very, from some of the early marketing classes when we have to analyze billboards and look for the golden and see attention, interest, desire, action. AIDA is more the vision for what we have been creating this platform. We want to take those good old school qualitative marketing techniques and then apply it in a more automated way. So we actually know more about the audience when they get in, and we strive to create the most relevant experience. If we do that, we also essentially are following them down. But it doesn't just stop with that, it also goes beyond the life cycle. So so it's a more automated way, but it's a term that many marketers are very well known with.
Analytics.
Yeah, there's many ways to
decisions and something like that.
There's a minute or 2 in Glenberry Glen Ross, but I can't really share it because the language is horrendous, but Alec Baldwin stresses that acronym.
Always be the selling part there.
Right after that, then he gets to that again.
Yeah.
Do we have any customers here right now? I think the customer left, right?
Yeah, we had one that left.
Okay, so one of the things that I'm hearing from customers is that a lot of the partners are going in trying to basically, do a marriage with 300 people at the wedding, when really sometimes it could just help if you just eloped at the first start. Just do something small, do something simple, and do a small package versus, I had one customer tell me they put together a $400,000 engagement to try to get them to start using Sitecore DMS. And it kind of just obviously got killed pretty quick. So it's just some of the feedback I'm getting from the customers is that small, quick wins, small engagements, maybe just starting off using the campaign tokens, showing them how to actually understand what traffic's coming from where within the system, simple things like that. So just a little feedback.
And of course, the reason why we advocate the quick wins and quick win, it is a quick way to get started. It shouldn't be quick win all the time, but it should evolve. But just getting started is the key for many. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think maybe one of the things as implementers that, and where my kind of previous question had come from is that I think we hear a lot from customers that they're really excited about a lot of these things, and where my earlier questions came from is they get all ramped up, and then it's like, well, yes, we can do this, it's just not out of the box, right? So I think that where we've seen a little bit of, maybe not frustration, but it's like they're ready to get going, but then there's always an implementation effort to do a lot of the things, like to get the profile card set up. We connect the CRM, then we have to connect the actual reports themselves. I'm not saying it's necessarily a big effort, but I think that we see a lot of excitement kind of maybe plateau temporarily when there's not kind of the first step as an out-of-the-box item, because as much as we love working hand-in-hand with them, sometimes they want to run off on their own, right? As implementers, we'd love to be there every step of the way, but I think they may not always see it that way.
Yeah, and that's a fair comment and a good comment. We have been getting a lot of feedback on the product the past years,
yeah.
And all that feedback is something that has been really been taken into version 8. I know that you have also been a part of meetings with the product to also serve that feedback in, so we make sure that we get it more full and also more easy for marketers to also use the platform. And hence that we have enhanced many of the capabilities, but also put in a better UI for this. I would say that in terms of the quick wins, here we focus on what is possible out of the box, and that's the scope for that. And then when you start extending, then you would be needing some sort of configuration of the different data in terms of how you would like to view it on the profile. But again, as long as we can keep it flexible to actually do so it doesn't demand that much efforts for actually doing it. It's not a big project, but it still needs to be done. Any more questions, thoughts around personalization, analytics, Sitecore? Ilan?
What's going to come in 8.1?
What's it?
What's going to come in 8.1?
After 8.0.
After it.
Okay. Is there a hard date for 8.0?
If there's a hard date for that? No. But yeah, so the next big release and big thing we are focusing on is really getting 8 up and ready for release this year, and it will be released this year. So, and the feedback we are getting for some of the early that have been trying it out has been really good. I don't know if some of you have also been doing a little bit and want to share something about that. Otherwise, there's also a lot of good blogs out there on So what's next?
I think that's it. I don't know if everybody knows, but Lars is heading out on a 12-hour flight to Moscow tomorrow morning, so I wanted to thank him for stopping by here on the way and getting his presentation chops all warmed up. We really appreciated it.
Thanks so much for letting me come here. I'm really excited to learn that there was a user group. I moved to Melrose outside Boston 1 year ago, so really happy that there's a user group here.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.